And we're live! Sorry about that minor delay.
Hello! And welcome to another episode of Those Aren't Biscuits. I'm one of your lovely hosts, Jonathan Cadotte, and with me is the equally lovely Owen Adams. Say hi, Owen.
Hello! That delay was my fault, I'm afraid. I was looking on the wrong channel for a live stream starting. First time I've ever done that.
Well done.
But, there we go, we're live now. Hello in the chat to Ninth Dimension Gaming and to Mr. James. How you doing?
Hey, wow, you guys are right on the ball. We're just going to get ourselves situated here, just setting up a little bit. But thank you, welcome. For those of you who don't know, this is a live talk show that we do every week where we talk about pop culture items from movies to comic books to books, television, music, video games, everything in between. And the whole time you can give us your comments, we'll respond to them, give us questions, we'll try to answer them.
I've got some funky music going on for this stream, it's good.
Yeah.
Jazzy.
And we are playing...
Hope it's not too loud. Tell me in the chat if it's too loud, I'll bring it down.
Okay. And, well, as you can tell, we are playing Hustle Kings Snooker, which means, we can only mean one thing, is that we're going to spoil the shit out of something. Alright, for some reason we tend to play Snooker whenever we have to talk about a movie that we're going to spoil.
Yeah.
It's spoiler Snooker. There we go.
Yeah.
And this
We're
week
talking Black Panther today. Oh, sorry, get into it, that's fine.
We are spoiling the shit out of Black Panther. So, the movie's only been out for a few days, so I imagine a lot of people haven't seen it. So this is your forewarning. When we get into it, we will be spoiling it a lot. So, you've been warned.
We should just not warn people. Then they'll stay and watch the show.
Fair enough, Ninth Dimension Gaming. Ninth Dimension Gaming says, hell no, I'm out. I haven't seen it yet. That's fine. We understand that, and we respect that.
Do you know what? Maybe I should change the episode title to Black Panther spoilers.
Yep.
Let's do it, and then we can talk about it.
See, everyone's like, no, don't spoil Black Panther. This is what we do.
Yeah, that's how the show works. Sorry about that. We talk about movies.
Yeah, and we tend to discuss movies at great length, and it's honestly... I remember we did toy with the idea of trying to do, like, non-spoilers way back in the day. I can't remember what movie it was, but it was just too... It was too difficult for the type of conversations that me and Owen. Yeah.
Well, Joe, maybe we should do it like, hello to Foxley and the Fox. Maybe we should do it like that Adam Buxton NWA skit, you know? Like, drop the volume every time a bad word comes along, you know?
Okay. Mr. James says, I am staying for a minute. Yeah, we're not gonna, like, jump right into it. Yeah.
3, 4,
but, yeah, let's...
timing. How are you, John?
I'm in pain.
You're in pain?
A lot of pain right now. Yes. And this, for multiple reasons. One, physical pain, and two, like, heart pain. Because I have to eat some crow here and apologize to Owen.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. So, if you guys remember, way back when Owen turned 30, he too had a little bit of an injury that he discussed on the show, and I made fun of him for it.
Yes, you did.
Yes. 4 days into my 30s, I hurt my back. And to the point where I had to go see someone. And here's the worst thing. I hurt it in even a dumber way than Owen did.
I've already forgotten how I hurt my back. Do you remember?
It was like walking. You were just walking.
It was something really pathetic.
Yeah.
I think it was like lifting a box of like packing foam. I think it was something really pathetic. It was something really, really feeble.
Remember what they say, lift with your knees, not your back. Those packing peanuts, they can add up.
Yeah, it was something really embarrassing.
I hurt my back sleeping.
Oh! Heavy dreams. I've sent you a challenge, by the way. Accept it whatever you like.
Here's the thing. I am not a sound sleeper.
Okay.
I move a lot. When I sleep, I roll around, I toss and turn, and so this isn't something this has happened to me before. It's actually pretty common for me to kind of hurt my lower back while sleeping, but never to this extent. What happened was I had twisted myself around so much that when I woke up, my legs and my upper body were facing two opposite directions. like my legs, like my knees were pointed up, as if I was laying on my back, but my upper body was twisted and I was laying on my shoulder. And I must have settled on that spot for most of the night, because as soon as I got up, I could not move. I took a few steps, couldn't move. I tried to go to work, and they sent my ass like they said I had to go and see someone. They wouldn't let me stay at work. So I went to the chiropractor.
Boo! A chiropractor?
Yes.
Charlatans.
They are not charlatans. It's a legit thing.
It really isn't. But carry on.
No, okay. I'm not getting into this with you again, but I understand, Owen. You've read a couple reports and you think that they're not real, but they are fully licensed practitioners of what they do. They have to get licensed. They have to.
Oh, sure, but it doesn't mean that
school.
It doesn't mean that the chiropractic is anything beyond touching people's back.
Sure, but
they're not doctors. They're yeah. I'm be willing to admit that chiropractors do things that might be beneficial in the same way that a good physical therapist or a masseuse might, right? But there's a lot of stuff in chiropractic that's really dodgy, like trying to cure flu by realigning the spine, crap like that.
Okay, yeah, but here's the thing: I don't think most people would ever. A majority of people aren't doing that.
Sure,
and I don't think most chiropractors do that.
There is a lot of holistic alternative medicine new agey crap in chiropractic circles.
Sure. I guess. And here's my thing, I haven't looked into that myself fully. But I can understand where their premise would come from. Because there is something legit about physical manipulation of your body to increase things like blood flow and...
Sure. But chiropractic is pseudoscience to the extent it's taken. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with having someone come and work your back. But once you get into legitimately the field of chiropractic, there's a lot of nonsense.
I guess I see it the same way as surgeons, right? Using surgery to fix multiple things rather than just what is ailing you, you know? For me, I don't see much of a difference behind okay, I get a lot of sore throats, so we're gonna remove your tonsils and adenoids. You know, it's a physical manipulation of your body, and in this case, a removal to try to cure, something. But it's not actually treating the problem. It's just removing or altering the body to avoid it. You know, that's
sure.
To me,
if you can demonstrate it's true. Specifically, if you can demonstrate that the promised effects are actually handled within the area of what they're manipulating, and chiropractic in a lot of areas falls into overambitious claims. It's very, very, very well respected in the US, I know, but it is an unscientific alternative medicine. Which is, kind of thing I don't like. Boo, Jonathan! With your medical care that you paid for yourself. Hold on, I'm just going to get to a few comments. Ashton Murder says, hey, Jonathan, what was your nickname? How, like, Owen has Papa British? What was the one you want me to call you? I don't think there was one, was there?
There was. It was like I think it was like Cousin John or something like that. Or,
Jake Gristle.
Yeah, Jake Gristle.
Luce Connor says, who is Harvey Moon 2015? That's the username I do these streams under, because I don't do it under my normal one, because it's easier to set up 2 accounts. Tiny Beth Suka says, OMG, please talk about KFC. Yes. Who wasn't wanted us to talk about KFC? Someone wanted us to talk about KFC running out of chicken, which is, I don't know if you'll have seen this story in the US.
That, but...
You hadn't heard? Or you had?
No, I mean, I'm not a KFC fan, so I just...
Oh, no, it's quite funny. And yeah, dentistry. Oh yeah, I've the dentist is now my home away from home. My filling has come out again today. Same one.
At $1,200 really starting to look better and better, huh?
Yeah, every week that $1,200 gets better value. Hello to XPNC32, welcome, how you doing? What are we talking about now? We're going to be talking about Black Panther soon. At the moment, we're just talking about our weekend. John's talking about how he hurt his back, which I'll stop making fun of chiropractors, and you can tell me how you hurt your back. And then I'll tell you about the KFC chicken.
Sure, well, I mean, it doesn't go much further than that. I hurt my back while sleeping, and it was pretty rough. And I went to the chiropractor, and I did feel better afterwards. Legit felt better.
Oh, good.
But it's still pretty sore, and basically he was able to like alleviate the pressure. Cause like I guess from my understanding is that when you do injure yourself like this, there's 2 things that happen: is that pressure builds up as your vertebrae try to cushion themselves.
Right. A lot of back pain is essentially inflammation in your spinal. Tissues.
Right. And the second thing that happens is that the muscles tend to tense up around there. And for me, that's a kind of a big deal for like where it happened. Because when I was in middle school, I actually suffered an injury from wrestling. I was on the wrestling team. And I hurt my back pretty good.
Apparently the music is too loud. The reason I asked you guys to tell me if the music too loud before we began a game is we can't change it once we're into a game. I don't think.
All right.
Oh, maybe I can. Hold on. Sorry. Yep, I got it. I got it. It's not start button. It's not the options button to change the music. It's a touchpad. That's why I can't figure out how to do it.
Yep.
Sorry. Carry on.
So there's I got scar tissue going on, and there was the muscles have been damaged before, and the problem with like muscle damage is if you damage a muscle well enough, it never quite gets to where it needs. It never gets fully back to normal. There's always scar tissue and things like that, which is strange because that's how muscles form, is by tearing themselves apart and reforming. But if you kind of go past their limits, they don't quite heal properly ever. And so that's why my muscles contracting so much around my lower back to protect my back makes it very painful for me, because it's actually just pushing a bunch of like scar tissue into my spine.
Yeah, that's why heart attacks leave you permanently compromised, because once the muscle starts taking damage, once it starts necrotizing, there's no coming back from that. And your heart's all muscle tissue, which is not related to your back, but just on the subject of muscles never repairing.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So how are you feeling today? You better?
I feel better. It's still painful. I kind of have to be in very specific positions to avoid the pain, but nothing that's stopping me really. Nothing I can't soldier on through.
No, I'm glad to hear it.
Yeah. So tell me about this chicken. I want to hear about the
KFC in the UK.
The case of the missing chicken.
KFC in the UK has had to close down over half of its stores in the UK temporarily because they recently went through a big restructure and they changed the big company that's been doing all the logistics and supplying all their chicken for the entire history of KFC as a UK franchise, as a UK arm of KFC. They were like, no, we're not going to use them anymore. Let's use DHL. and like, immediately, they've completely failed to fulfill that obligation. So, basically, only half of the stores in the country actually have chicken right now. So it's this huge thing. KFC essentially is overnight half the size in the UK that it was yesterday because they changed their delivery company. Which is really...
Riots break out in front of the remaining KFCs as people scramble and piece together doomsday machines.
Yeah,
racing across the countryside.
Last week there was a KFC-themed episode of Rick and Morty, so it's all gone to hell. That'd be great.
I just like to think of like Mad Max, where there's like one semi truck full of chicken cruising down and just
300 bikers chasing it.
But it's the UK, so not actually riding motorcycles. They're like on bicycles. Just
what, do we not have motorcycles here?
Not the cool ones like we do. I mean, are Harleys a big deal over there?
Yeah, there's a Harley Davidson dealership in Leeds.
No kidding. Wow, I didn't know that.
Nobody in Leeds can fucking afford one, I'm sure.
Shit, no one can afford them here either. Actually, no, that's not true. There are people who can afford them. They are hedge fund accountants by the name of Chad who live in, $200,000 homes that they can't afford. They send their kid to a private school that they really can't afford, and the only reason they do that is because their boss has sent their kid to a private school, and they want to feel on the up and up, and they're on the same level as their boss. So they overspend like crazy and put themselves in more and more debt. All right, but it's a manageable debt. And then the weekend comes around, and the wife's like, "Oh, well, I'm having a PTA meeting, and we gotta make these amazing pistachio cookies for everyone. You want to help?" No, God, no, I don't want to help with that. I gotta get out of the house. I gotta.
What are you rebelling? What are you rebelling against, sweetie? What do you got?
What do you got? Pistachio cookies.
But if you think about it, actually, Harley Davidsons they're intelligently priced so that they're just the appropriate price for when you hit your midlife crisis.
Oh, exactly. I mean, and that's what they've become. Like, I fully believe at one point they legitimately were a status symbol of the anti-establishment and things like that. We had Easy Rider and things like that. And yeah, I fully believe that Harley Davidson was right on the cusp of that. But then they kind of got to a point, probably in the 80s or so, when they're like, look, people can't afford this shit anymore. So let's just double down. All right, we'll just sell primarily to yuppies, right? And make them feel like they're the rebels.
Yeah, I hear the next model's got a baby seat.
I have seen that. I am not kidding. I have seen, well, maybe not babies, but I've seen very small toddlers strapped to the back of Harley Davidsons, with their cute little leather jacket on and a bandana and sunglasses.
Isn't it interesting that Harley Davidson has followed roughly the same sort of path of popularity recently as Harley Quinn? Starts out as the niche interest for the die-hard enthusiasts.
Right. Gradually
softened, mellowed, and gone mainstream, and now everybody's dressing up in the now everyone's wearing the patches and the clothes at conventions,
Right.
It's all the same.
And the fishnets now, and
yeah.
Everyone's daddy's a little monster these days. Fucking hate that shirt. Hate it.
Tiny Bit Secret says, correction, they were the right price for the midlife crisis before the millennial generation, because you know we drink cups of coffee every day, but if we saved those £2.50 up, Harley equals totally affordable. Yeah, there's been a lot of those lately.
Oh, I guess a lot of anti-millennials speak because of how we spend our money.
Yeah, a lot of think pieces in the British press with things like, if they only cut these cups of coffee, they, you know, maybe they'd be able to get a mortgage if they just cut their expensive cups of coffee every day. Yeah, oh no.
Oh,
you're right.
Yeah.
I'll have £50,000 in no time if I just... And you know what? I don't go out for coffee. Like, I don't know many people who actually do that often. Do you know who goes out for coffee every day? Baby boomers.
Yuppies. Yeah.
Luce Corner says the Suicide Squad. Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry. The problem is it's sitcoms, right? It's because most baby boomers still legitimately think that sitcoms are the accurate representation of people. So they see, you know, Ross and Rachel. I mean, that's the thing. They're not even watching current sitcoms. They're still watching Friends, where it's like, oh, Ross and Rachel and Chandler and Monica and Joey, they all just sit around this coffee shop all day, even though 3 out of the 6 cast members make it a point to suggest that they are unemployed at all times.
And then they go back to that huge apartment.
Right, their massive apartment. It's like, oh, what? Fuck off. But yeah, it's just... I hate that, because the perception of millennials is not ever even close to actual representation of, or the reality of who they are, or who we are. I mean, and that, to me, that's really no different. That's been a tale as old as time. The generation before will always have a very skewed image of the ones who come next.
Anytime I see a millennial think piece headline, I always imagine it being said by the dad from the Wonder Years.
Or like That 70s Show. Red.
Right. Because it's always that person. It's always that point of view. That was that character. You know?
My favorite... Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Loose Corner in the chat says, the Suicide Squad movie kind of bored me. I couldn't stand more than 10 minutes of it, to be honest.
Yeah, no, it's fine. That movie's terrible.
A really terrible film. I think it might be the worst of the DC movies, and that's saying something. They haven't been a great crop. Wonder Woman accepted.
Yeah, that's all we got. I like Man of Steel, but that's a tale of another time.
Do you even think of Wonder Woman as being, like, in that? Like, when you think of Wonder Woman, do you think of it as really being part of that group, that crowd?
Not really.
I think of it as an honorary Marvel movie. I'm a fan of the Wonder Woman cinematic universe.
The WWCU. Just...
Yeah. Great movie.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Marvel movies, should we get into this? Should we?
Yeah, we gird
our loins.
We saw a little niche movie, a little quiet little flick, limited release, probably not showing on a theater near you. Very tiny,
art house flick.
Indie movie, I believe it is.
Yeah.
We saw Black Panther.
The harrowing
which one
tale of
which one of us is doing this?
Militants.
We were both going in ready for this then?
Yeah. Alright. Okay, everyone, final warning. This is your final warning. We're going to be talking about Black Panther here. The Marvel movie that just came out.
Follow Green Day's advice, though, and stick with us. Warning, live without warning. That's warning. Yeah. Do it. Yeah. We're talking about Black Panther, not to be confused with the Black Panther Party. Although I have seen people making that mistake, despite the fact that, like,
didn't Black Panther predate the party?
It did, and it's one of those things that to me, even as someone who isn't, like, hugely familiar with Black Panther, that's such a well-known fact in comic trivia circles that I feel like anyone... Well, do we even need to say at this point the SJW's crowd are out in force for this? Because they're out for every movie these days, right?
Well, no, okay. Clarify what you said there, because it did sound like you're like, oh, the SJWs are out.
No, I mean the SJ. You're right. I mean the people moaning about SJWs.
Yes, the anti-SJW crowd.
Yeah, and so there's a lot of people who seem to be rather willfully making the mistake, which, I mean, I'm not one of those people who thinks comic books, you need to have an encyclopedic knowledge of comic books to be a comic book fan. But those people who bitch about SJWs, they are those people. So if you're coming in making the mistake of thinking that Black Panther is based on the Black Panther Party, you don't get to make that, what do women even know about comic books argument anymore. Do you know what I mean? You don't get to... You're out. You're disqualified from that shit. But, yeah, not to be confused with the Black Panther Party, which, yes, it does in fact predate. I don't even know if there's a relationship between the two. Like, I don't know if,
Real quick, Fuzzy Weasel, yes, we are going to be spoiling, alright?
We probably, yeah.
Yeah, that's honestly, your last warning.
Honestly, though, do you know what? It's not that... I wouldn't say there's that much you can spoil in this movie. There's one thing...
No, yeah, okay, sorry, go ahead.
So, before we get into it, I will say the one thing that I didn't know going in, and that I actually, looking back, I'm glad I didn't see too many posters and stuff going in, because they would have given it away, but I've seen the trailer, but I haven't really been following I like to just see them when they come, I watch the trailers and that's it. Mm-hmm. I didn't realize that Michael B. Jordan was basically going to replace Andy Serkis as the main villain. I just didn't realize early on that's where that was going, and so when that turnabout comes, it really worked for me as a moment in the movie. So I kind of wish they wouldn't have put him on the posters as prominently as, let it be a surprise, but they never do that. So.
Right. No.
But yeah, Black Panther.
How do you want to go about this one? Should we?
Let's just say before we go into the plot in detail, let's just say real surface level what we thought about it. You want to go first,
sure.
Or?
Yeah, I will go first. I thought that this was a really, really good movie. It's up there. If we ever get to my list, you'll see that it has reached the upper echelons of my favorite Marvel movies. I think just on a visual point, just we're talking like costumes and we're talking about design work and things like that. This movie is beautiful. It is very beautiful in a way that like Doctor Strange was colorful, all right? That movie was a colorful movie. This movie is also very colorful, but in a very different way. And for no small part because of the massive influence of African design that went into this. In fact, I was reading something about it. They kind of invented something that they referred to as Afrofuturism for this film. That all their costume work and design work from the tech and the ships and everything are all supposed to be very influenced in traditional African things, just brought up, I don't want to say up to date, but made futuristically. Like even I didn't even notice it at first, but like the second time they show it, like Black Panther's little ship that he flies around in, if you look at it from the top down, when they show that view of it, it actually looks like those masks, the war masks, the same sort of mask that like Majora's Mask is based off of.
Yes.
Yeah, that ship looks like one of those, and I think that's really cool. So, from that point of view, I think the movie's great. It's very colorful. It's very pleasing to look at. Music is amazing because it's, once again, this will be kind of a recurring theme from when I speak about the film, but the music, I think, is a prime example of what it does really well, where it takes essentially okay, this is kind of difficult to speak about as being a white male, but to me it seems like the movie does very well about taking two sides of a culture and mixes them.
Right. Because you get a lot of your African drums. The music sounds, I don't want this to be like the best comparison I can make to African culture, but a lot of music sounds like music from The Lion King, which is another very like African influenced film. Do you know what I mean? And obviously it doesn't sound like Lion King sounds like African music, but it's got that kind of vibe because what The Lion King does is it merges traditional orchestral that you get in a Disney movie with African music, right? And then a little bit of Elton John for the pop. What Black Panther does is it merges basically the brass that we've come to know as superhero sound with those same African drums, tribal chants, all those things, and it is a really great fusion of those two things, I think.
Well, see, for me, what I was going for, what I think was actually the fusion of the African, I guess, traditional music, I guess that might be the way to say it, with hip-hop.
Oh, yeah, that too. For sure.
Which I think is actually really kind of important to the movie when you look at the two characters between Killmonger and Black Panther. That really plays up between those two characters as well. Which I think, really jumping ship here for a second, I just want to say this real quick. The dynamic between Michael B. Jordan's character and Chadwick, I can't remember how to...
Boseman, isn't it?
Yeah, Chadwick Boseman. Between those two characters is definitely one of the most intriguing relationships between a hero and a villain that we have seen in a Marvel movie, I think, in a very long time, if not ever. But we'll get to that, and I'll explain why later.
Yeah, well, we can get into the detail.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been a long time since we saw a movie and we went through it, but I think this one's worth going through when we get past our initials.
So yeah, that's my thing. I think it's a beautiful movie. I think it manages to stick to a theme and an idea and carries it out throughout not just the actions of the movie, but also the peripherals, the sound work, the design work, just it's a really cohesive film, I should say, with its thoughts.
Yeah.
So, and the action's good. The actions are good, I think, and I think the acting's good as well. So, what are your thoughts?
Well, I'm going to start off with one minor comment I have to make first, and a minor criticism, because then I can get out of the way. Firstly, just on the topic of how colourful it is, I have a suspicion that the theatre I saw it in didn't have the best setup for this, because I've seen clips of it since, I've seen the trailers and things like that, and in the theatre I was watching it in, the movie felt a bit dark, do you know what I mean? Like, almost like detail was being a bit crushed. So, I do think it was a very nice, colourful film, visually, but I didn't get like a hit of, well, that's very vivid, do you know what I mean? So... Right. But...
I wonder if that is your theater, then.
It's very possible, but of course we did get it in things like the election scene, but... That's not a massive part of my enjoyment of the film at all. I just wanted to mention that.
Right.
I will also say, this is a criticism I'm going to have, and it's not a big criticism. It doesn't really affect how I feel about the film. It's almost not worth mentioning, but I will say, I feel like this movie didn't have as much of a budget for CGI as they've been putting in films lately.
I wanted to bring that up, actually. I wanted to look it up before we did this, but I forgot to. I wanted to know what the budget for this one was compared to the other Marvel movies, because that's the one failing that I think that this film has, is their CGI work.
Yeah, I didn't really enjoy the look of, from a computer graphics point of view, the final fight between the two Black Panthers and the rhinos were kind of disappointing. Things like that. But for the most part, I mean, that doesn't hugely affect the film, but I do think that was worth mentioning. I don't think they had as much money as, say, Civil War, CGI-wise.
Right.
But that is such a small part of it. But I think this is probably one of my favorite Marvel movies. It took me... When I left the theater, I knew that I'd enjoyed it, and I knew that I'd enjoyed it all the way through. But it has taken me a day or two of just sitting and thinking about it to get to whether I think it's just a good light entertainment movie or whether I think it's a really good movie. And I think I'm settling into the idea that I think it's a really good film. I think this is probably one of the strongest Marvel movies for a few reasons. There's nothing in this movie that is totally, completely new. We've never seen anything like it before at all. However, it's so full of things that still feel fresh, you know? It's so full of things where you think, well, I've seen that in a superhero movie before, but I've never seen it done like that. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
And that kind of... oh, damn it.
Sorry, Lou's Corner says... Black Panther had a $200 million budget.
That's not that helpful, though, because it also had quite a large cast.
Yes, it had a large cast, and I'm curious, like, how much they spent on things like, actually, like the music. For one thing, I know very, very popular hip-hop artist Kendrick Lamar did a lot of the music, so I wonder how much they had to pay him to do that.
Yeah, whereas, like, Iron Man mostly uses a lot of, like, licensed music. And they have scores as well, but there's a lot of custom music all the way through Black Panther, and there's a lot of real sets as well. And then there's some really bad CGI sets.
oh man, do they love showing you the fact that they got the locales that they did? Like, yeah. Which by all means go for it, because they were beautiful locales and things like that. But yeah, it felt like every chance they got was like, oh hey, by the way, bam, Vista, beautiful.
So yeah, that's my final thought on it. I think Black Panther is a really good, well-written, well-scripted movie, and I think it hits more subtlety and more refreshing things. Like, I don't think there's a Marvel movie that feels like it at all, really. So far,
by far, I think it is a, like you said, I think it's probably one of the most nuanced,
yes,
films of the MCU.
Much more of an ensemble cast than I was expecting.
Yeah. So let's get into the plot here, all right?
All right.
So once again, everyone, this is
hello
this
to
is
Sinister
spoiler
Minister,
time.
welcome. Who says some of the movie was very dark, visually hard to see. Oh, so maybe it wasn't just my theater.
Well, I think there was one scene in particular that I had trouble seeing. I almost want to say that it was a design or like a directorial decision to do this. It was that scene where Black Panther ambushes the convoy.
Yeah, and that's a jungle guerrilla warfare scene. Kind of. Right,
and that scene I had a hard time telling what was going on. But other than that, I really didn't struggle at all in my theater seeing things.
It's not that anything was hard to see. Like, there was never an issue making out what was going on. It just, every scene felt like the lights were down a little lower than you would expect from the lights you could see. I think it was an issue. But I'm looking forward to see it again. We'll get it on Blu-ray and put it on the projector here, and we'll see. Eventually.
Okay, so let's get into it. This film takes place. God, it was actually really surprising to me. It takes place like a week, like a week after.
Well, first it takes place in the distant past of 1992, which isn't
right.
that?
Oh, yeah.
Isn't that, by the way, the same year that Civil War's flashback is set in?
Maybe.
When Howard Stark is killed by Winter Soldier.
I thought that was like the 80s.
Maybe, could be. I don't remember.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't remember that that far back in that minute of a detail. So yeah, okay. So yeah, it opens up. Okay, let's say this.
What should be like the critical plot point in Infinity War?
Right. We got to go back to '92.
That's where it all changed.
We gotta stop the OJ chase. Did it happen in '92? I felt like no.
Well, if it had, it would be too good an opportunity not to put it in Black Panther, surely.
Right.
You know what they say? Shoot the rodeo.
What?
It was a joke, a bad joke. There's a phrase in filmmaking called "shoot the rodeo," and what that means is when you're filming a movie and you're on a really low budget, and you find out that there's a rodeo going on in town, you write a rodeo into your script. And you
got it.
You shoot the rodeo because you're not going to get another opportunity. You're not going to get to stage your own rodeo. You know what I mean?
Right.
So my gag was, if they're going to be in 1992 anyway, shoot the rodeo. But it's a joke. It's a stupid joke.
I figured you would have went with like a Bronco thing, like, Anyways. So yeah, it starts out in Oakland, California, 1992, which is I have to admit, was a startling thing for me. I'm like, okay, so this is a movie that's going to primarily take place in Africa. We know this going in. How do we start to film? Oakland, California.
Yeah,
1992.
All the kids are eating push pops. The children have light up trainers, and Aqua are on the radio. 2 years too early.
Right, I'm like 6 years too early. But
I was 5 at the time. Cut me some slack. Guns N' Roses are on everyone's mind.
That All for One song. Just
Terminator 2 Judgment Day has blown the world away. When did that come out?
I don't know. 90? No, that happened later too. Wasn't that like 94?
Terminator 2 Judgment Day was in all the magazines as a film to be released in a few years' time. You know what they say, the future is what we make it. 1991! There we go. Terminator 2 was late 1991. I've saved this joke.
Oh, thank God. My God, what would we have done without that joke?
Oakland, California, 1992.
Yeah.
Kids are playing basketball, and a spaceship lands on an apartment building. And we are...
This isn't part of the joke. This is part of the movie, people.
It's literally what happens. And from this spaceship, some people leave to go interrogate 2 people. All we know about them is that they're about to perform an armed robbery of some kind. Or they're about to do something involving guns. It looks like they're planning a heist. You later find out that's not exactly what it is, but they've got guns. And then they are interrupted by the previous Black Panther, who is like, "What's going on? Fill me in."
Yeah, T'Chaka.
There's a little bit of a dispute.
Is that what's his name? T'Chaka? Was it T'Chaka?
T'Chaka. T'Chaka is his father, and then he's T'Challa. And I don't think we see how the scene ends at that point. We later find out what's going on, but basically, for some reason, the previous Black Panther was in California in 1992 for reasons we do not know. And then it cuts forward.
No, you do know that. You do know that. At
well,
that
yes,
point. Yeah, it's his brother.
The people who are performing the hiding the guns and stuff are actually Wakandans, and they've been sent out as spies. And he's basically there to check up on them and find out what's going on because they've stolen vibranium. That was it, wasn't it? That's pretty much anything. That's the only reason they leave Wakanda to track down stolen vibranium. And then it cuts forward to the future. And can I say, we don't come back to that to figure out what the significance of that is for quite a while.
Yeah, they let that one kind of just simmer.
And so here's the question: did you figure it out first what that was going to be? Because I didn't.
Oh, I knew who it was.
I didn't. I'm an idiot. Well, I'm not as familiar with Black Panther either.
I figured that. Well, no, I don't think that had anything to do with actually. No, I don't know if this is actually part of the film. No, I picked up on it pretty quick. When I picked up on it was the museum scene. Right,
that makes sense. I didn't. I must admit, I'm usually good at seeing where movies are going. Not this one. This one pretty much didn't. I did not predict its turns most of the time.
Yeah,
which is nice.
I mean, the thing is, like, I picked up on it, but I still thought that it was well executed.
Oh yeah. Which is how I normally feel, but yeah, it caught me off guard.
Okay, so we are
5 minutes in.
Yeah, we are taking our damn time with this, so we need to move along. So yeah, we jump to the future, and T'Challa, the Black Panther, as you know from Civil War, he is on his way back to Wakanda to take the throne. His father has died. He's had his adventures with the Civil War plot, and now he is on his way back to Wakanda, basically to take the throne and, lead his people.
Yes.
And you get to meet his sister, who is
awesome.
Maybe my favorite character.
Yeah. Well, he also, before he gets back, he stages what you think is a rescue of some people being kidnapped in a truck. But it turns out that there's already a Wakandan operative on board, which is... Oh, I forget this character's name.
Nakia.
She's... I was going to say she's kind of like our female lead, but to be honest, there is no... Even T'Challa is not really... Like, he's the lead, but he's not front and center here. This really is an ensemble cast. We've already been introduced to T'Challa, who is the Black Panther. What's the general's name? I'm terrible with character names. I'll look it up, because it'd be good to get them right. But basically, she's kind of like his right hand, right? She's a general. She's leader of the military. I think leader of like the Royal Guard.
Yeah, they have a name. I cannot remember the name though, because that group is actually very prominent in the comics too, and I can't remember what they're called. But yeah, they're actually really interesting in the comics.
Okoye. That's Okoye.
Yeah.
Oh, Okoye. I don't know how to pronounce it. That Okoye. So yeah, she's basically his bodyguard, but she's also basically like a special forces soldier, Wakandan.
Well, the funny thing about those characters is one of the major like plot points with T'Challa in the comic books is that that group of women who are his bodyguard and elite special forces soldiers are also technically like wives in waiting. They're all supposed to be but when T'Challa takes over in the comic books, he does away with that part of their duties.
Well, it makes sense.
Yeah.
So they go for the rescue. They pick up Nakia. Oh, Nakia. I'm gonna forget these names.
I think it's Nakia.
Because I am terrible with names at the best of times. But they don't throw around a ton of names in this film, and there's such a huge cast,
Right.
Trying to remember everybody is proving very difficult. I remember Killmonger because he's got a stupid comic book name. That's nice and easy.
Which they do their best to try to explain. They really try, but
yeah, it's not great.
It's a silly name.
It's a really dumb one. And they return home where we meet probably one of my other favorite characters in the movie, Ramonda, T'Challa's mother, who was great.
Oh yeah.
Really interesting character.
Angela Bassett, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. No. Who's an amazing actress to begin with, but she does a really great job for kind of a limited screen time as well. Like she doesn't get
but every time she's on the screen, she's owning that scene.
Yeah, I mean, like a queen, you know. She of all the characters and like all these various roles that they're supposed to have as like a royalty, she, I think, the most comes off as royalty.
Everyone is really, really, really well cast. The only casting that like didn't do anything for me is, and I know it's, I like Forrest Whitaker, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say that. But he was the one that kind of didn't do it for me either.
And he could have been like that role. That could have been anybody. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
There was one of those roles that could have been anybody, and the fact that it was Forrest Whitaker was almost distracting. You know?
Right. You know what? From what I've heard about this like production of this film, it was casting or finding actors to do these roles was not difficult.
No.
It was very much.
Yeah. And if you can get Forrest Whitaker, you might as well have the the star power.
You know.
But it was when he got stabbed and he went, "Save the rebellion, save the dream."
What is going on with Forrest Whitaker, by the way? He's just been like throwing himself into like these sci-fi fantasy roles as of lately. Like you do King of Scotland, and then you're Guerrera in.
Right, because Last King of Scotland, I'm not one of those people who thinks that genre movies are by necessity like a lower form of art. You know what I mean? I don't believe in those kind of distinctions. But what I will say is that Last King of Scotland is an absolute masterpiece of a film. Like it is one of the most amazingly well-made, amazing historical films. Have you ever seen it? I don't know if you see.
I've seen bits of it. I was not able to see the whole thing, unfortunately.
It's really worth watching. I mean, it's absolutely something else. One of the most amazing historical films ever made. And he's incredible in it. And then he's just... And both the actors for that were like, yeah, let's go do comic book movies now.
Right, because it wasn't also James McAvoy?
Yeah. And he was like, what shall I do after that? X-Men? X-Men. Let's do it.
Yeah. Star Wars? Yeah.
So, T'Challa returns home to become king. I should say early on, they also tell you in a bit of an opening monologue that Wakanda was founded after a meteorite crashed in the thing that made them all basically super powerful because it has special metal in. And the country was set up by the foundation of 5 tribes, but one of the tribes didn't really want to be part of it, so they are Wakandans, and they are technically represented on the council if they want to be, but they're basically an isolationist tribe. T'Challa...
which is a nice touch.
Yes, it was, and they used that in the film. And one of the things that they don't explicitly... I'll explain the next scene, and I'll say what I thought was an interesting observation. An interesting thing that I noticed. I might end up using the phrase headcanon, despite the fact that I hate it. Hello to Sam Foreman, how you doing?
Hey, Sam.
T'Challa, before he becomes king, everybody really knows that he's going to become king, but they have this ceremony where it's basically an old tribal tradition as almost now just pomp and circumstance, like the opening of Parliament. You know, it's that kind of thing.
Right. But there's similar stuff in like the U.S. government as well.
Right. So they have a tradition where he basically the tribes all come together. He has the powers of the Black Panther taken away from him. And a representative from any one of the tribes can challenge him in a fight to the death or yield. And if he wins, he gets to be king, and the challenge comes. And then the 5th tribe show up unexpectedly, and They're a tribe called the Jabari, and their champion fights Black Panther and loses. Fights T'Challa and loses for the crown. So T'Challa is crowned king. Now, one of the things I thought was...
Oh, okay. Sorry, go ahead.
This is something I thought was kind of interesting. Did you get the vibe that the Jabari just turn up unexpectedly every time this happens and lose? Do you know what I mean? Like, deliberately, like, to them, that's their role in things. Like, they don't want to be king. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
That was the feeling I got from it. They don't want to be king. They just see that as Jabari's part in events. You know?
Right. Yeah, I guess there's something to say about that. What I think is more important is that you actually get in that scene, they lay out what one of the main, like, philosophical conflicts there are in the film, because they make a big point about how T'Challa's sister specifically, you know, is making a mockery of, like, ceremony, because she makes jokes and she makes
she specifically says, let's get it over with. Let's just go home.
Right.
Why are we doing this? This is silly.
So there's a lot of, right off the bat, there's this sort of conflict between
Hello to
people of
Plage.
Wakanda about those who
hold
are...
Hold on. Hello to Plage. I just want to say, we're talking about Black Panther and we're talking with spoilers, so if you don't want to hear Black Panther spoilers, just be careful. Just wanted to get that out there first, because someone new came in. Although I put it in the title now, so that's okay. Yeah, sorry, carry on.
Yeah. This answer your question, Blaz? I'm winning. So yes, I have apparently more pub experience.
I just take it a shot at a time. I'll be honest when we're talking. It's about all you can do.
Yeah. This is our spoiler game. So, anyways, but he lays down this conflict essentially, where he explains that, like, T'Challa's father and the continuing onward with him have been modernizing Wakanda in a way that they're not necessarily comfortable with.
Right, because the Jabari don't seem to have a lot of modern technology either.
Right. So that is a conflict that... There's two major conflicts philosophically in this film, and that's one of them, and the other one comes later that I'll bring up. But yeah, I think that's more or less their role in that scene, is basically to establish that, you know, Wakanda isn't a complete utopia. Right, and it isn't
a true hereditary monarchy either, which is also relevant because you need to establish that later on for what's going to happen with our villain. One of the things that is worth mentioning is the Jabari's role within Wakanda as the isolationist tribe is used as a microcosm of Wakanda's role within the world, you know?
Yes.
Just as they go to the Jabari and attempt to get them to give up isolation to fight a more serious foe.
Right.
That's what's kind of coming in Infinity War, isn't it? You know?
Yeah.
They are going to have to put away their isolation to help the world fight her. And I thought that actually was a nice little theme. That the Jabari represents Wakanda's place in the world, right? A little bit.
So, okay. Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
See you later, Blige. Thank you very much for watching, man. Yeah. Hello to Happy Halo Fish. Hello to Gregory Honey.
Hey, guys. Make sure you guys hit those like buttons while you're here. Even if you're not going to stick around, we appreciate the support.
Yeah, we're talking about Black Panther.
Yeah. Okay, so we have that scene. T'Challa wins. We can flash through some of these next events pretty quick. He does this little bit of a ceremony thing where he receives the power of Black Panther back, has a little vision quest thing where he sees his father. His father explains to him...
Which is when the Lion King parallels really come in.
Yeah, it is, yeah. I mean, or Hamlet. So
what the hell? Why can't I change what button?
Because we're only on the colored balls left. There's no more red.
Crap, that's why. You're right. I'm being an idiot.
You said it.
No, I am absolutely being dumb as a house of bricks. What is that? I don't know. Dumb as a post.
Bag
There
of
we go.
rocks.
Yeah, one of those expressions.
Very, very offensive to rocks. But
what are they gonna do? Write a letter of complaint?
Dear Mr. Cadotte, I represent a sedentary
community.
Collective. Yeah.
The Igneous Union.
Yeah. Our complaints are layered.
Well, that's
So yeah, he has his little spear quest where his dad says, "Oh, you'll be fine. You're a good king. Whatever." Then we get basically the introduction of our villains. There is a museum in London that
oh crap.
That has a showcase of African artifacts.
Sorry, don't you mean there is a tiny side room in a building someone thought looked a bit like a museum in London?
Right.
That has 3 display cases.
Well, I mean, if you've been to a museum, they're kind of set up that way, where
Sure.
they take the shotgun approach, where it's like
Sure.
we're gonna try to fit as many artifacts.
I totally agree. But in a movie of predominantly beautiful, fascinating, interesting locations, that museum is crap.
It's pretty dull.
I think this is just what people think London looks like.
Yeah.
White walls, glass, and people in and women in dress suits. You know what I mean? That's
Right,
London.
yeah. I mean, isn't it?
Tiny Beth Secret says, and the A1 bit of colourful paper stuck up outside like a real life sign. Yeah. Right. It was. Yeah.
So okay, we get the introduction of Michael B. Jordan. He shows up and he asks information about these artifacts, and the lady's playing along, and she said, "Oh yeah, well this is from there, this is from there, blah blah," And then he hits her with like, "No, like that's bullshit. That's Wakandan." Points it out, and then basically
like,
all
see,
hell
it
breaks
says "Made in
loose.
Wakanda" on the back. Look.
Right.
How did we
Look,
miss this?
But all hell breaks loose.
I did like that bit when he says, "Don't worry, I'll take it off your hands." And she's like, "What?" These aren't for sale. And he says, "How do you think your ancestors got them?" And she's like,
Right.
"Oh, no reason." Like the collar pull.
It's almost like she was gonna go like, I never liked Elvis, just
Get Out was my favorite movie of the year.
I voted for Barack Obama even though I'm British.
What's funny? That is a line in Get Out. The character says,
of course.
I voted for Barack Obama twice. Best president I ever had. It's great.
So yeah, all hell breaks loose. Ulysses Claw shows up. They murder a bunch of people in there. They get out
with perhaps, like, I know it's a dumb joke, but one of the best ways I've ever seen of making a crime scene look more authentic.
Yeah.
Like, I felt bad for laughing at that, but it was legitimately funny.
Yeah.
Now you can go.
And reasonable. And that was the worst thing about that scene. It's like, okay, what happens is that he tells this one guy, like, no, you can live. Go, run. And so the guy starts running away, and he shoots him in the back, right? And he's just like, it's like, oh, it makes the crime scene look more realistic if, there's more spread out. And I'm like, that makes a lot of sense.
I'm sure there are no cameras in this high-security museum.
Oh no,
I will say
they discussed that. They put it on a loop.
Oh, that's true. They do.
All CTV cameras have the ability to do. Since
we've all seen Speed. I will say, and this is that I criticized. I said the special effects weren't amazing earlier, but I will say there was a moment which really made me think that when you really take the moment, you have a little quiet moment that utilizes special effects. CGI and stuff can still wow you when it's not in a big long scene that's boring you, right? Because it's such a little thing, but that scene where he tests if it's actually made of vibranium by firing the energy weapon at the hammer and it sheds all the rust. That shot was great.
Oh yeah.
It just looked amazing. And again, something I've never really seen before. I've never seen someone prove that something is a fancy metal by firing an energy weapon with it so it just sheds all its age, you know?
Well, and there's also other little really cool touches in the film that I really liked. I thought those tattoos were cool. Under the lip.
On the lips. Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool, like how they did that, you know? Because of course Wakanda would have neon tattoos on their lips to prove that people come from there, you know? Because it's very important to them that they have...
Right, but they also established that it's only the people who leave that have the tattoos applied.
Right.
And I know that doesn't change anything, but it's an interesting detail. You know?
So they steal this artifact, and they make off with it, and that's when it pops up on Wakanda's radar, right? Where it's like, oh shit, this artifact that I'm assuming they knew was at this museum, and so they just kind of left it be.
I don't think they mention specifically whether they knew or not. I wish I could remember the phrase they used, but it's something like a believed or an alleged or a something. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. There's a word in there, and I can't remember what it is.
Right. I think it was like assumed, like an assumed vibranium artifact that we just kind of let.
Yeah, given how protective they are, I don't know if they would have just left it there. Luz Connor says, how do you play the music through the stream? It's just on the game. It's,
Yeah, this is just the soundtrack of the game.
Good soundtrack.
Good soundtrack, by the way. Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice. You can actually get some funky songs with lyrics. I'm a hustler, baby. Hustling for the man every night and day. That's not how it goes. I just don't know the next line.
No, yeah. So they realize that this artifact is now in the wind, and they have to get their hands on it, and they figure out that Ulysses Claw has it, and Wakanda
if he's
has
got
a
it,
beef.
He's probably trying to sell it. Yeah, Ulysses Claw, who, if you've seen Age of Ultron, he's the arms dealer Age of Ultron removes of an arm.
Yes.
And they also conclude that if he's got it,
make him just an arm dealer.
An arm dealer. If he's got it, he's probably going to try and sell it, and therefore they start looking for people. They basically they put their ears to the ground and look for someone selling vibranium, so they can go and intercept the deal.
Hello, smart dogs.
Which is around about the time the movie turns into a James Bond movie, and it's great.
Yeah. So they do this thing where they manage to figure out that okay, Ulysses Claw is going to
Hong Kong?
South Korea with.
It was South Korea, wasn't it?
Yeah.
10 years ago, it would have been Hong Kong. Because it was always Hong Kong in movies.
Yeah. So they're going to Busan, South Korea. Oh, shit. And so they put the team together, and it's Black Panther and Nakia and the General.
It's basically all our characters. Our main leads up to this point.
And they're going to go to Busan to intercept this deal and get the artifact back, and if all possible, at the behest of one of the tribal leaders of Wakanda, kill Ulysses Claw. All right.
Played by Daniel Kaluuya, who is one of my favorite actors right now. The actor from Get Out. He's also been in a lot of Black Mirror. He was in Doctor Who once as well.
Oh.
A long time ago. He was. Do you remember that one where the that double-decker bus was trapped on a planet?
Oh yeah. Wasn't that a special?
Yeah, it was one of those 4 David Tennant specials. He was. He was in that.
Okay,
so not remotely relevant, but
no.
But he's a fantastic actor.
Yeah, and he has a beef with Ulysses Claw because when Ulysses Claw, it should be said that Ulysses Claw, his claim to fame is he's the only person who's infiltrated Wakanda and escaped.
He's the only person who knows what Wakanda is, basically. Did we mention that Wakanda is hugely technologically advanced and it's a secret? We actually mentioned that. It's quite
Wakanda
important.
is basically like a sci-fi utopia of sorts.
It's known as
but
Africa's
it's-
Dexter's Lab.
Right. But it's a secret, and that's a big deal for them, is that they've kept
It's the whole point of the movie.
Yeah, they've kept their technological superiority and achievements a complete secret from the world. But this Ulysses Claw had managed to get in, steal a small amount of vibranium, like a very, very small amount, and get out, which has basically made him most wanted by Wakanda for a very long time.
But he also
And he
killed
always
some
managed
people
to-
on his way out, so a few
Yeah,
people want
yeah.
revenge.
So they go to South Korea to intercept this deal, and that's where they run into Martin Freeman's character from Civil War, the CIA agent. I cannot remember his actual name, his character's name.
It's Ross. Somebody Ross.
Yes, something
Agent Ross. And they meet in a big square club. And it's
Yeah.
a James Bond movie. The whole scene is a James Bond movie. You've got characters walking around talking to each other on the radio. Okoye is wearing a wig, which is hilarious.
Right.
Each character is kind of casing different sides of the room, and Everett Ross, Tiny Beth Secret in the chat says, yes, Everett Ross.
Yep.
T'Challa spots...
Is he related to Thunderbolt Ross?
I don't know. That's what I was thinking. You'd think it would be too much of a coincidence. Aside from anything, because Thunderbolt was in Civil War as well. Thaddeus
Right.
Ross. So that would be a bit weird. But they're casing the room. They're looking for who's in. T'Challa spots that Ross is there, and he obviously knows him. And I love that scene when he basically he tries to go and get like the information from Ross, and Ross believes that he has the upper hand in this situation, and that he's
Right.
dealing with the king of a tiny third world country with no political power. Or and he's like, no, we are gonna buy the vibranium, thanks. We're gonna get it, don't worry about it.
Yeah. You just run along now.
Crap.
Like the big boys are playing now, and so yeah, it all goes wrong. Big shootout, fight scene, wonderfully done. I think it's a really good fight scene where it uses the chaos well.
Before we get onto the fight scene, I would just like to say, the scene when all the characters come together has one of my favorite jokes in the entire movie, and it's such a weird joke. It's such a strange, odd little sequence. But when Everett Ross meets up with Claw, and he's trying to... He's also trying to throw his weight around again. He's like, what, do you have a mixtape? And Claw's like, yeah, we do. Should we get him a copy? And he's thrilled to be asked if they have a mixtape. Because they do actually have a mixtape.
He's like, yeah, we'll give him your SoundCloud link. He's like, no, I really don't want to listen to your music.
I mean, that joke came out of nowhere.
It took me a second to pick up, and I'm like, wait, he actually had a mixtape?
I loved it. It was so funny. Not the kind of joke I was expecting in the film. The film is a funny film, by the way. Totally different sense of humor to Thor Ragnarok or Guardians of the Galaxy.
Right.
But a very
real
funny
quick,
film.
Lou's Corner says, I posted something I made while I was bored in the tab Discord. I will check that out after the episode. I'm looking forward to see that, whatever that is.
Good.
Yeah, okay, so, yeah. That is the thing. There is a sizable amount of humor in this, but it's not the goofy humor of...
It's always just a little bit to cap off a serious moment. Which you get a little bit in the action sequences, too.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it comes between, like, T'Challa and his sister, who is clearly smarter than him, and she knows it.
Right.
And so she's constantly, like, well, not constantly, but in a few scenes, like, putting him in danger to test out things.
Well, Shuri is a Black Panther in the comics, isn't she? She actually gets a Black Panther suit herself at one point, I seem to remember.
Yeah, can I go into that? Because one of my favorite Black Panther storylines. Please?
Sure.
Can I go into that? All right. So, real sidetrack here. One of my favorite Black Panther storylines actually involves my favorite character of all time, Daredevil. In the wake of the Shadowland mini event series thing, Matt Murdock decides that he can't be in Hell's Kitchen anymore, and he's gonna just hit the road and just basically do a walkabout. You know, he's gonna do, try to find himself, but he knows that Hell's Kitchen needs a protector, and at the same time, Black Panther had some pretty bad shit happen back in Wakanda, and he has chosen to leave Wakanda and give up the mantle of Black Panther. All the powers. He gives up all the powers and the tech. So Matt Murdock actually contacts him and asks him to come to Hell's Kitchen to protect it while he's gone, and in turn maybe he'll be able to find some solace as well. And what you get is I think it lasted maybe 12 issues, but a Black Panther in Hell's Kitchen acting as its protector, but without any of like his tech, any of his powers. And he basically kind of has to Batman it, and he also takes on a persona of he's just like a deli owner. He buys a deli, like he gets there and he buys a deli, and that's kind of his disguise.
What?
I know, fucking deli, crazy, right?
No, the cue ball being a dick. Went all across the bar to sail into the pocket. Now, cleanest shot I ever made.
So yeah, that's how, and it becomes a really good story. But during that time, Shuri takes over as Black Panther in Wakanda.
That makes sense.
Oh yeah. But yeah.
So car chase.
Great.
Claw leaves the club, and they give chase in a car because Shuri has invented a car remote control hologram driving device, which is hilarious, and also mostly played for laughs in this scene, but used to establish that it's going to be very important in a later scene, which is good script writing, by the way.
Oh, okay, real quick, I want to take issue. Gregory Hearn says, I hated when they said, "What are those?" Such an irreverent meme. I thought that was a cute scene. Because remember, Shuri is a teenager. Like, she's still... I think she's like 15 or 16, in this movie. So yeah, they make a joke about that meme about "what are those?" with his sandals. And I thought it was actually kind of funny.
Yeah, I agree. I like that whole scene when she's doing the Q thing of like rolling out the gadgets.
Right.
I think it's good. And the we didn't get into it, but the whole scene with it's worth mentioning the Black Panther suit spits out kinetic energy and blah blah blah. It's not that relevant. It's only in the action scenes. So yeah, they do a car chase.
Yeah.
That car chase is great.
It's really, really well done.
One of my favorite bits in the movie is actually when she skids out in the car seat. And that spear throw. Fucking hell, that's good. That was one of the most entertaining things I've ever seen in a car chase. Really great action.
Right.
As always, this is just a personal preference. It goes on a bit too long for my taste, but that's just me in action scenes. I think they all tend to go on too long in all movies these days.
I did like the bit. I mean, they show it in the trailers all the time, but when Black Panther latches onto one car and just uses his claws to rip off the lug nuts.
Yeah. It's great.
I thought that was really cool. I mean, it was just cool all around, and when you add the fact that the car is being driven by Shuri, who's
not actually
1,000 miles away,
Yeah.
That's pretty neat. So yeah, we got the car chase, but unfortunately, Claw gets away. No, he gets captured. That's right. They do capture Claw, and they have him in a CIA safe house in
Ross takes
South
possession.
Korea. Yeah,
we have that great scene. Another great scene of Ross believing he has the upper hand, while the general's like, "Why are you letting him talk to you like this?"
So in the process of the interrogation of Claw, Killmonger shows up, or excuse me, we don't know he's Killmonger yet. Michael B. Jordan shows up, breaks him out, gets gets the artifact, and in the process, Ross gets shot in the spine. Oh fuck! I hit the wrong ball.
Which is basically how Claw gets away. They take him back to. They take Ross back to Wakanda to save his life rather than letting him die, because he takes a bullet for Nakia. Yeah. So they save his life.
This game is called Hustle Kings. We are playing the Snooker version, which I think you actually have to buy as DLC.
Yeah, you do. It's normally a free-to-play game, but the Snooker is a paid expansion.
Yeah. Claw gets away.
Oh, this does tie into one of the things that I feel like is a little bit... This is something I don't like. Another criticism. It's only a small one, but I do have another criticism here. One of the major conflicts in the movie is Daniel Kaluuya's character wants Black Panther to kill Claw. Right. And when he comes back without killing Claw, this essentially damages their relationship.
Yeah.
He's overreacting a little bit. Like, he was trying to kill Claw. And I get that within the script he's overreacting, but it's a little... the response feels a little too disproportionate, too convenient, you know? They need to get him to that position by the next act.
Well, it's just one of these things where it's like, where you kind of add the whole thing that he brings Ross back, right? He doesn't kill Claw and then brings Ross back, right? This outsider.
Yeah. But they don't communicate that, I don't think. They just...
Yeah, not well.
But I would say that's probably one of, like, again, like, very few criticisms I have of this film. It's mostly... Like, can I just say something I don't get to say about movies very often? These days, this film has a really good script.
It really does.
Tightly plotted, and you don't get that much these days outside of TV.
There is one other part of the film that I was kind of like... There was one other part of the film where I kind of felt like, a little,
yeah.
But nothing. No, we'll get to it. So Claw gets away. They bring back Ross, and he's like, okay, well, I fucked up. Things didn't go well. Claw's out there, and then we get to see what happened to Claw. And this is where the kind of big, I don't want, like, shocking moment happens, but it's, I actually was not expecting it to go down like this, but they go to Michael B. Jordan character, who what's his actual name? It's not
Undajaka, or Undajaka.
Sure, but
one of those two.
But he had like a different name as well. He has like
Eric.
3 names. Eric, yes.
Because I remember they said it later on, and I was like, his name's Eric?
Yeah, okay. So we have Eric, who just fucking murders Claw and like his perceived girlfriend.
Yeah, wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, he just kills them both, and then takes the body to Wakanda. And he shows up right on the border, and he's like, "Bam!"
And conveniently, man who does not like Claw is there that day. Just
they explain. They did explain earlier about how that specific tribe, like.
Oh, I know. I know.
Protects the border.
But he just happens to be on like the particular meter where Killmonger tries to cross. Do you know what I mean? I know it's not a big deal. I'm only kidding.
Yeah. So he shows up with the body of Claw, and like, hey, I've brought this. I want into the city. I want to.
And he's got the tattoo. He's got the
right. He has the tattoo. Now, while this is happening, we have a moment with T'Challa and Forrest Whitaker's character. Because during the breakout scene, T'Challa recognizes a ring that Michael B. Jordan's character is wearing. And it's a royal sigil, essentially. And he asks Forrest Whitaker's character what happened. Like, what is going on? And Forrest Whitaker explains. He, like, that scene back in Oakland didn't end where we thought it did. Essentially, what happened was there was a argument that happened between T'Challa's dad and his uncle. It's revealed that Forrest Whitaker's character was there, and in the process of this argument, and it turns into a physical scuffle. T'Challa's dad murders, or not murders, I should say, but he kills his brother, T'Challa's uncle, and which also turns out to be Eric, or Killmonger's father, and then leaves him behind. He kills his dad, but then leaves him behind to basically live on his own in Oakland, even though he is, part of the royal family.
It's so interesting because I mean, it's obvious even to the audience it's a huge mistake.
Right.
And it's funny because before we saw this, we we're doing a rewatch of the Marvel movies at the moment. The one we watched just before this was Iron Man 3.
Right.
And Iron Man 3 opens with that quote about making your own demons. And then you see Aldrich Killian on the roof, and he says, "Why am I telling you this? I had just created demons,
Right.
And so I was thinking that while I was watching it, because we just watched it, and I was like, And it is kind of interesting that everybody said that Marvel doesn't have a great track record with villains, and they don't.
Right.
They really don't. But when they have had good villains, like, I don't think the movie's great, but I actually think Mickey Rourke's character in Iron Man 2 had a lot of potential, The ones
I
that
thought Hello was pretty good.
Yeah, and the ones that work best are these ones where they have a motivation that is tied to the hero in a deeper way, because why else would someone come away with a personal distaste of a superhero? Do you know what I mean?
Right.
I think
Killmonger
for this reason,
Sorry,
I think Killmonger might actually be my favorite Marvel villain.
Yeah, and it should not go without being said, but it is played wonderfully by Michael B. Jordan.
Well, do you know what was amazing about him? He killed people and he did terrible things, but he was right.
Yeah, he was. He was actually right. And there's something else that's very interesting about him. Is how he's acted, right? And it's, they do this thing where, he is a villain, right? And he has his moments where he has to be the eloquent villain, right? Where he has his little speeches. He has his whole little, quippy one-liners. And he does the villain thing. But they never forget the fact that this is a kid who then grew up in not South Side, but in the inner city Oakland, right? And they don't hide that fact. He speaks with slang. He speaks with a tone of voice that is representative of inner city, but he still sounds eloquent and compelling. It's like the exact opposite of the Bond British villain, And but he still manages to be captivating, and I think that solely falls on Michael B. Jordan's acting ability.
It's a great performance.
Yeah. So he shows up, and you find out about what had happened and why he come back. And we get this really great scene, right, where they're at the council and they have agreed to have a meeting with this guy, with Eric or Killmonger.
The council don't know who he is at this point, but T'Challa does.
The only person who knows who he is T'Challa, who's at the council, and it's one of those. It amazes me how the the basics of filmmaking still exist if you look hard enough, because that whole scene is predicated on this real basic script writing technique called "Who has the secret?" Right? And it's a basic of film writing where, you know, there's always a situation where you have multiple characters. Everyone knows something that the other one doesn't, and to make the tension work, it's how do you reveal who knows what, right?
Yeah, lip disc guy fucked it up.
He's one of my favorite characters of that film, by the way.
Because he does the one thing everybody wants to do in that room as well. Yeah. He's like, nah, fuck it. I want to know who he is.
Yeah, because he's like, even like Killmonger is trying to be kind of coy about it, you know. I think he's trying to get T'Challa to admit who he is, right? Yeah. And but T'Challa's not doing it, and
he's not playing
everyone
ball.
else is and everyone else is like, you know, oh, get this man out of here, this charlatan, get this, you know, whatever. We've entertained him long enough. Let's get him out of there.
How much of a shorter movie would it have been if the lip disc guy hadn't asked? And they just kicked Killmonger.
Escorted out.
Oh, why didn't I just tell them? Why didn't I just say who I was? That would have been easier.
Yes, you're absolutely right, Greg. Marvel does have some good villains, but I think as a whole, I think that is one of their major sufferings.
There's some really good villains. I think the villain in... But the best villains tend to be in the... Often you've got a pairing of great movie with bad villain, right? Civil War, great film, lousy villain. Guardians of the Galaxy, great film, lousy villain.
Lousy villain. And some of the best villains, you know, eventually turn out to be just kind of misunderstood, really. Like Winter Soldier. You know, I think Bucky is a great villain in that, but at the end you realize, oh, okay, he's not really a villain. He's, you know,
right. And then Loki has been in quite a lot of films, very inconsistent. Some great films, some terrible films. Mm-hmm. And he is always an incredible character because he's not a villain. He's a very full, well-rounded character. You know, he's not just. Shot. Oh God, yeah, I'm paying any attention here. Sorry about that. That's just me being dumb.
So we get this thing, and this is one of my favorite scenes, and it's I mean, it's not a wholly original kind of scene, but the way they do it is amazing. And once again, it falls solely on the performances, where, you know, they got to the point where they're escorting Killmonger out, like, okay, fuck this guy, we don't want to listen to him, he's clearly a lunatic.
I meant to skip and reorient at my shot, but I ended up taking it anyway with barely, like, touching the ball. It happens.
But then, you know, the guy, I love his suit. I love that guy's green suit, right? I would wear that suit.
He's great. That character, he doesn't have a lot of screen time. The council members in general are interesting because most of them barely say anything in the entire film. They just have a few words in the council scenes, and yet you can tell from what they say who they are and what role they play on the council.
Right. It's very interesting. And okay, we should actually discuss this with Lip Guy, all right? I feel bad calling him Lip Guy, but
yeah, I didn't catch his name unfortunately, but he did have a lip disc, and he was the only one.
Yeah.
What else are we gonna call him?
Which I thought was amazing, all right? Because what this movie does, when it especially comes to the things like that, is they take something that up until this movie you see in like National Geographic magazines or film or specials. It's like, oh, that's kind of weird. They have a giant disc inserted into their lip. But you see that in this movie, the guy with the lip, and you see like the rings around the neck. The women soldiers all have shaved heads, and these are aspects of African culture that they just put into the movie, and they don't make a big deal about it. They're like, oh, this is just Wakanda.
They're also put in a modern context.
Right.
And a lip disc is not that... It's not that unusual to... It's not that different to one of those big earlobe piercings,
Right.
It's not that hugely different. But it's also ceremonial. So when you think about it, it's not that much different to a Jewish guy attending a council meeting wearing... I've forgotten the name of the hat. That is... not great.
Know what you're talking about.
But you know what I mean?
A yarmulke?
A yarmulke, there we go.
Yeah.
I'm not Jewish, I don't know the word. But you know what I mean? Like, it shouldn't be that different to that.
Well, and that's what's kind of cool about the film, is that when you see in this context, maybe the first time you see it, it's like, oh, that's kind of strange. But the second time you see them, it doesn't even occur to you that it's kind of a strange thing. It's just like, oh, okay, well, it's Wakanda.
Well, we should say, like, the whole visual style of the film and the whole concept of Wakanda in this film is it's an African country that doesn't have to deal with the effects of colonialism, that has not been colonized. Of which might be right in saying there are no African countries in the world like that, right? Africa was mostly completely colonized during the Victorian era, right?
Yeah, it's so much of the fact that at one point it was Shuri when she was talking to Ross, just straight up calls him like whatever you say, colonist.
Yeah.
Okay, so the amazing scene that I'm talking about is the lip guy just goes, "Who are you?" and just like calls out, and Michael B. Jordan turns out and just lays it on the line, just drops his real name, which is a known name because it's royal. It's a royal name, and
well, it also says that he's the son of the prince,
right? But yeah, it basically explains that, like, oh hey, I'm royal. I'm of royal blood, and I'm making my stake to the throne.
Hello to Concan 2005. This isn't Pool,
Hey.
I'm afraid.
No, it's Snooker.
It's actually quite a different game.
Pool. It's Pool.
It is not. Don't you think it's different? I think it's a very different game.
It's Pool.
No, it's not.
Okay.
It's a game played with cues and balls. But if it's Pool, every game played with cues and balls is Pool.
It's Pool. No, I know it's quite different.
If it was Pool, I might have a chance of winning. Concan says, no, I meant the real life Pool. Yeah, I'm sure, Concan, you said that with absolutely no connection to what we were playing. Sorry.
Okay, so yeah, he basically drops down and is like, I'm taking this damn throne, and just basically one of the most badass moves that I've seen in a long time, especially in a Marvel movie, where he just he's like, no, fuck it, I'm taking your damn country.
Sinister Minister says, I know how to play Pool, this is weird to me. The most important thing you need to know about Snooker is that each player is trying to hit the same balls, and you alternate. You have to hit a red, then you have to hit a color, then a red, then a color. That's basically Snooker. And then once you've hit all the reds stay off once the reds are potted, they stay off the board. Every time a color's potted, it goes back to its starting position. And then when you have... Oh, that's right, I'm trying to hit a red ball. When you have potted all the red balls, you then have to get all the colors in order, basically.
Yeah.
And the person who does the most of that wins. Usually the person who's going to pot the black is going to be the winner. So long as they get it at the right time.
Alright, so what basically does, he challenges T'Challa to the same ceremonial combat that they had at the beginning of the film.
Which I did think was interesting, that there are all these rules of what he's got to do and what he's not got to do and what that makes you king and stuff, but there's no rule that says if you don't appear on Coronation Day, you miss your opportunity to challenge.
Yeah.
But fair enough.
Yeah. Well, and the weird thing is they kind of imply that T'Challa doesn't have to accept.
Yeah, they do. They do suggest that. You're right.
Yeah, but he does. He accepts the challenge.
Well, he's a new king as well. He would lose a lot of integrity if he just said no.
Yeah. Basically, fast forward a little bit.
And then he was like, and then he leaned over to lip this guy and he was like, and as soon as I'm king again, my first act is gonna be to fit a
so
gag.
Up far
Yeah.
I am going to just beat the living hell out of you, sir. There will be no ceremonial combat. It's gonna be you, me, a steel chair, and a baseball bat. But no, he agrees to the fight and goes, and there's not really much to say about this in the context of the fight. Both
T'Challa loses.
Yeah, T'Challa loses, and Forrest Whitaker dies.
And he has the powers of the Black Panther taken from him. So and he falls off a waterfall, and they don't see the body. And assume he's dead. That's probably the most important part of that.
Yeah, that old chestnut.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, normally I'm all for make sure you see the body, but when the when the waterfall is Niagara Falls times 2,
right,
I'm kind of okay with it.
Right. It's a really convenient thing that they decide to have these combats on the waterfall. You know, it's
like, can you imagine?
It worked out well.
Would there have been so much of a we didn't see the body if they'd held the fight over a giant sausage meat grinder? And he'd just fallen in. The body disappeared.
You can't. Yeah. How are you supposed to eat your pudding if you don't eat your meat?
Because it's not that different, right? like he should be dead.
Yeah. So yeah, Killmonger ascends to the throne. He takes over. And
my favorite bit in all of that. Oh, wait, he does have a vision quest.
Yep,
which is a really nice scene.
Yeah, and it's actually it gives him credence to what his thing is.
Well, there's a really interesting bit, because when T'Challa goes on his vision quest, he says to his father that he's not ready to be without him, and his father says, if a parent's quest is to, a parent's mission is to make sure that their parents can survive, their children can survive. I can't remember the exact words he used, but he basically says it's a job of a parent to make sure that their kids can survive once they're gone. Have I failed as a parent?
You didn't mean to do that.
And when what's so interesting is Killmonger hasn't got over his father's death.
No.
And when he goes on his vision quest to meet his father, they don't repeat that line, but you can see that his dad is aware that he has failed.
Yeah.
I thought that came together really well.
Mm-hmm. And so what we get then is Killmonger, he takes the throne, and he does something that's actually fucking genius, right? This is he receives the powers of the Black Panther. He takes the herb, and then like what are all these? What are they doing? Oh, they're tending the leaves so that future kings will have the power as well. He's like,
it's a real Pulp Fiction. Did I stutter moment as well?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, because he's like, no, burn it. There's not going to be another king. Like, I'm it. Like, it begins and ends with me.
And then after they burnt it all, he goes, the Black Panther power gives me the ability to live forever, right? And they're like, no. Oh, shit.
Oh, well. Did that happen? I don't remember that line.
No. That was a
No,
joke.
okay, I was about to say, I'm like, oh, that'd have been really fucking funny. I was like, okay, it should be mentioned that the Black Panther powers last for 24 hours.
you gotta take one of these every day.
But,
He's like licking the ashes. It's still good.
Just licking the bowl.
And from then on, there's like the 24 countdown clock because he's trying to get all his jobs done before T'Challa comes back and kicks his ass.
Right. It becomes a weird like jingle all the way. I only have till the end of the day to get. See you later, Concan. Have a good day at school.
See you later, Concan.
So he does this, but Nakia manages to sneak in and grab one last leaf. And so they take off, and they have it's Nakia and it's Shuri and the mother.
Yeah, the general doesn't go because she sees her duty as being to the throne, not
she's
to
loyal
the,
to the throne.
individual man.
Right.
Make Wakanda great again and all that jazz.
Yeah.
We should say, by the way, that Killmonger's plan, what he wants, what he believes that... The reason he wants power for Wakanda is he believes that Wakanda should be using its technology to basically arm oppressed groups around the world. And essentially overthrow white people. That's his mission, more or less.
Yeah, and that once again, that's what I wanted to bring up. That is the second big conflict, philosophically, of this movie. Is that you on one end you actually have Shuri, who keeps on suggesting that Wakanda needs to come out of the shadows and use all its technological marvels and advancements and power to help these people across the world who are being oppressed, diplomatically, give them abilities, like, Jesus.
Right. And Daniel Kaluuya's character wants to send soldiers out into the world to clean it up.
Right. And then they mention the big thing about, like, well, if you bring refugees in, they bring their problems. It's...
Make Wakanda great again! Build a wall!
Yeah, it's very interesting how they mirror current discussions, I should say, and beliefs. They mirror it quite well, but they do it in the context of this position of power, essentially. Like they hold all the cards. Wakanda holds all the cards in the world, essentially. It's just when are they going to show their hand and how. So Killmonger decides, like, okay, I'm now king, and like Owen said, like his whole deal is that he's going to arm and create a war, essentially a conquest through the world. They use that whole term, the sun will never set on the empire of Wakanda.
Right.
And the thing is that he's actually coming from a very understandable position.
It's worth mentioning, though, interesting parallel, that is actually a colonial phrase.
Yes.
Obviously it refers to the empire, but that's something that they specifically used to say about the British Empire, that the sun never set on it. A theme of, the oppressed become the oppressors, and...
Right. And he's cool with that. He actually knows exactly what he's doing.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, he says to the Wakandan Council, what have you done with your power to help people who look like you?
Right.
Basically.
He basically, he claims that essentially Wakanda has abandoned their people, and
they have. Sort of.
Because he even says, like, well, humanity started on this continent. Aren't all these people your people? So he establishes his plan.
And the film...
that he's going to...
I just want to say one last thing, I'll let you continue. The film also, to avoid making it sound also kind of preachy, the film actually very explicitly avoids offering you an easy answer to what Wakanda should and shouldn't do. It doesn't...
Right.
T'Challa comes to a conclusion, but the film doesn't explicitly say he's come to the right one or the wrong one.
Right.
The film does not... The film itself, directorially, I think, doesn't explicitly offer a position on what Wakanda should and shouldn't be doing. It's about the characters having these conflicts themselves.
Let's see.
Which is great.
Loose Corner says, when will the Q&A commence? You can ask questions whenever you want, but we probably won't specifically ask for questions and give answers until we're done with this,
Pretty much.
talking about the film.
But you can always ask questions. We pretty much get to them whenever.
Yeah. So his plan is basically he's going to load up these cargo ships with as much weaponry as he can and ship them out to the world to begin this massive conquest of the world. And which all intents and purposes they would succeed, because when you see the capacity of these weapons that they have, it's there's nothing that's going to stop it.
Oh, there is no doubt about the fact, as far as the world this game presents, there's no doubt about the fact that Wakanda is absolutely the dominant militant power. Sorry, this movie. There's no question that Wakanda is the dominant military power if it wanted to be.
Right.
That is beyond doubt.
Yeah. So he has a plan, but you have these few that manage to escape, and they go on a run, and they have a plan. All right. They go and seek out the Jabari, and they specifically go for the same guy who challenged T'Challa at the beginning, and said, "Look, T'Challa's gone. We need someone who can take the power of the Black Panther, challenge Killmonger, and take the throne essentially back from the outsider." And he plays with them a little bit.
He's great.
Like, oh well, yeah. Oh, this scene's amazing.
I was sure I knew him from somewhere, so I looked up everything else he'd ever been in, and I didn't know him from a damn thing. But he was amazing, and he deserves to become a star on the back of this. He was a great actor, I thought.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. Like, his first scene is very one note, and it's unfortunate.
But it's intentional as well. He is playing the role of villainous tribe leader. And he's playing the role in the film of villain, because this is where you get the idea that the Jabari, contrary to kind of what people in Wakanda seem to think about them, the Jabari see themselves as patriotic Wakandans. They just don't participate in government.
Right. Oh, congratulations, you won.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. So, and you never congratulated me on my 3 wins, but...
It's because I'm too busy talking about Black Panther. It's good.
Yeah. So, yeah, They present to him, and he's like, and he him-haws about it, and he's like, oh, maybe I will, maybe I won't, and he's like, well, here, let me show you guys something. And this was the scene that I was talking about, where I was like, oh, okay, this was a little weak.
Oh, when they're like, why is he in the snow? Snow's keeping him alive. Okay.
Well, not even so much that. It was like, oh yeah, by the way, it just so happens that we have T'Challa.
Found him.
Yeah, we found him at the base of the river. A fisherman caught him.
He's fine. He's just sleeping.
Yeah, he's just in a coma.
But it is kind of dumb though, because the snow thing, because I know it's not such a big deal, and you can put people in ice for things, but they do just have him laying in some snow. And he fell off a huge waterfall with no superpowers. I get that they have advanced medical care in Wakanda, but they don't have advanced medical care in the Jabari huts in Wakanda, because they seem to have rejected technology.
It very much comes off as like if the United States Senate had to like reach out to the Amish for help.
Well, it sort of feels like in 20 years' time, the Jabari are going to be making their own films, being like, finally, Jabari movies where we're not presented as these noble tribesmen.
So yeah, they get T'Challa back. It's like, all right, buddy, we managed to secure a Black Panther suit, and we got you back. You got your powers back. And then
that
T'Challa
is all
makes
resolved a
plea.
little quickly.
It is very quick. But to be fair, at this point, this movie has been going on for a while.
It is a very long film. They've been taking their time with stuff.
Yeah, which is fine. Which is good, actually, because there was a part of me who was concerned that they weren't going to give Black Panther the same treatment as the rest of the Marvel films, you know?
Yeah, whereas actually I think what we got, this is like when we first got those first Thor movies and the first Captain America movie where you were like, wow, they made a really thoughtful, loving movie over that character? It's great, you know?
Well, I mean, this is going to sound bad, but I was a little worried considering it was a movie with a almost entirely black cast. I was a little worried that the marketing teams and the execs at Disney were going to be like, okay, we're going to, treat this like a movie that like only black people are going to see. That was kind of my fear of it. But they didn't. It seemed like they gave the director plenty of support and let him do the movie he wanted to, which I was very pleased to see.
It feels like a movie for everybody. It's got
absolutely.
Good female characters, good male characters.
Yeah. Which I think, maybe this is just the optimist in me, but between this film and Wonder Woman, I think we might finally be able to see a really meaningful change in representation in films, because both of those films have now proven against normal convention that movies led by minorities or women minorities can sell tickets,
Yeah.
which is good, which is a really, really good thing to see. And real quick, Loose Corner, thank you very much. Loose Corner says, I love both the podcast and Owen's streams. Love them both as equal as possible. Thank you very much.
Thank
we
you,
do
Luz.
appreciate that. So yeah, okay. The T'Challa, he makes a plea with the Jabari leader. Basically like, hey, come with me. I need an army. Where we need to take back the throne. And he's like, nah, not doing that. And so T'Challa
I do like when he's
goes
like,
off.
I don't like when he's like, I'd really like an army, and he's like, yeah, I bet you would.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I got one of those. It's cool.
Yeah, it's pretty nice to have. But there's also another pretty great scene. I completely forgot about this. That whole character, the Jabari leader, is he's hilarious. Really great. Because like there's this really touching moment where T'Challa comes back from the dead and he's talking to Nakia and his mother and all this sort of stuff, and you hear the leader of Jabari. I wish I could remember his name, but he just all like, can we get on with it, please? like
I quite like the scene where he won't let Ross talk.
Yeah. I like that. Like, if one more word out of you, we will eat you. Oh my god. I'm just kidding, we're vegetarians. But then like the whole bit where they're doing the ceremony where they're burying T'Challa and stuff like that, it's like a really poignant thing, like culturally and religiously, and the whole time he's just like just eyeballing Ross the whole time, like show some fucking reverence here. Like just won't stop staring him down.
Ross in Wakanda was actually really good, because he wasn't just the fish out of water, although there was a little bit of that.
Yeah.
But it was the story of someone coming to terms with the fact that he wasn't as powerful as he thought he was. Someone who was used to being the most powerful man in the room, having to deal with the fact that this teenage girl from what he thought was a third world country is lecturing him on essentially military technology, you know?
Right. And, you know, saves his life. And, I mean, and you can very easily make the allegory, too, because he is American, or he plays an American.
Well, that's the interesting thing, isn't it? After Infinity War, presumably we'll see how it's going to go in Infinity War, and I'm guessing I was going to say Rwanda then. I'm guessing Wakanda going public is going to play a role in whatever ends up triggering Infinity War a little bit. You know what I mean? That will be relevant to it. But isn't it interesting? We're now dealing with...
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I think it's interesting that we're about to be dealing with a modern, contemporary, kind of comic booky, science fiction-y, superhero shared universe, huge franchise that's going to be set in a world in which the United States is not going to be the dominant technological and military power. That's going to be very unusual.
Well, what you know, honestly, this is me making some predictions, all right? Just from what I've seen with the trailers and considering what this movie was, I get very much the feeling that when Thanos shows up, Wakanda will be the last stand.
Yeah, well,
from what
I mean,
I've seen.
Yeah. I think so.
I think very much, because I think they're going to right away just do away with New York, just going to blow it out of the water, and probably just decimate the planet. And I think Wakanda will be the last stand, which is why you see all the heroes there at the end.
Well, I think... And then we'll see what happens in Infinity War Part 2, but I've heard a lot of people speculate that maybe even either at the end of Part 2 or maybe even between Infinity War Part 1 and Part 2, we're going to be hitting a reset button of some kind. So maybe at the end of Infinity... Because I've read the Infinity War comic ends with the total destruction of the Marvel Universe in its current form, you know? Yeah. And I've often thought about, like, how is it going to work as Infinity War 1 and 2? But actually, if the universe is basically destroyed and rewritten in Part 1...
Well, there's clearly a reason why... I mean, they never, like, hid this fact, but, like... the next movie that we have, like, announced after the first Infinity War movie... is Captain Marvel, and they've made a big point about, this is going to be set in 1990 whatever.
Ant-Man and the Wasp's coming then as well, though, between 1 and 2, isn't it? Did you see the trailer for that, by the way?
No, that's great. Coming out before. That's coming out before.
Before Infinity War 1? Or Infinity War 2? Is it?
Yeah, Ant-Man and Wasp, I think, is coming out at the end of this year.
Nice.
That's going to be their... That's going to be their end-of-the-year film.
Have you seen the trailer, by the way? It looks great.
Yeah, it looks pretty good.
Have you seen Ant-Man 1 yet?
Nope.
Oh, you should.
I know.
Ant-Man 1 is like, it's one of the most, it's Iron Man again of them all. Yeah. But it is a lot of fun just because actually his powers are really fun. Yeah. And he was great in Civil War, wasn't he?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, okay, back to Black Panther.
Sorry.
Yeah. We get this scene where basically they have goals, right? Where they're going to storm the castle. Ross is going to use the main goal is that, like, Shuri and Naki are going to try to get one of those remote control devices onto.
Fuck you, Pink.
They're going to get one of the remote control devices onto the Black Panther ship. The SS Black Panther.
Tiny Beth Secret says Ant-Man and the Wasp is July, Infinity War is April, May.
Oh no, Infinity War is definitely... Oh, really?
Apparently.
I could have sworn. No, there's no way. The promotion for these things has been completely reversed then. Than how it should be.
God, wouldn't it be so cool if Ant-Man and the Wasp was just sent in an alternate timeline?
Right.
Oh, I would love it if... I would love it if Infinity War destroyed the universe, and Infinity War Part 2 kicks off in like a... kind of like a The Flash style, like a Flashpoint universe, or... You know what I mean?
Well, that's what I was saying. That's what I think they're actually going to do.
I would love that. And then when you reboot it, bring in the X-Men.
Right.
And all that. Just bring them all in. Just have them all existing. No more origin movies. No, don't do that. Hey! Wasn't expecting that.
It seems very weird. It seems very weird to me that you would have an Ant-Man and Wasp movie after...
Well, it's very weird, but bear in mind, A, that character's kind of separate from what's going on, but also, they did exactly that. They did exactly that with the first Ant-Man movie, do you remember? Because...
I guess, but...
That came out...
Like,
that was the first movie after Age of Ultron, but it was part of Phase 2. For no reason.
Right. But also, you see in the trailer that the events of Civil War play a big part in Ant-Man. Like, I don't know. Anyways, Black Panther. The plan is that Nakia and Shuri are going to get a device on the Black Panther ship. Ross is going to pilot it and try to shoot down the cargo ships taking the weapons out of Wakanda. Black Panther is going to essentially lead the charge and take on Killmonger himself and anyone who stands in his way. And you get that confrontation, and I absolutely adored how T'Challa reveals himself.
I'm so sidetracked now. My
Sorry,
brain is just here, desperately trying to think of a final confrontation to Infinity War that dramatically concludes with only Ant-Man surviving. Sorry. Yeah, no, I think it's great. When he's like, I didn't yield, and I didn't die. The fight's not over.
Because it absolutely ties into...
But he has got his fucking Black Panther powers. He's not supposed to have those. Disqualification.
Right. Hey, but so does Killmonger, right? But it absolutely not ties into, but it pings on, I'm not gonna lie, like, I have a part of me who enjoys, to a certain degree, that kind of machismo, like, arms open, just like, come at me, bro, sort of thing. And that's absolutely what it was. He just walks out into the middle of the field, just like, hey, I'm right here, fucker. Let's go. Round 2. Ding, ding, bitch. Let's go. And I really enjoyed that. Like, I don't know.
I did too.
I just enjoy that.
But I will say, I'll say two things. Firstly, I'm so glad that the big final battle in this movie was not, it's a portal in the sky again. Because we've had a lot of them lately. But also, it is just kind of a big free-for-all fight that goes on a bit too long for me.
Yeah. It does kind of lose its way.
The heart of that battle for me is Daniel Kaluuya and Okoye's character. Daniel Kaluuya's character and Okoye. And because they do clearly point out those two are a couple, although they don't play it up, but it does come to a head at the end of that fight, you know?
Right. It's when he lays down, he lays down his weapon.
It's the best bit in the fight. Yeah. A few more character moments through it would be really good, I think.
You also get, I think you actually get a really good moment with Ross, where he basically contemplates, or he doesn't contemplate, where he comes to term where, I'm probably not going to live through this.
Yeah, I was surprised he did. They were signaling a proper death there. Yeah,
like a big time sacrifice sort of thing. But he makes it out.
Somehow.
Well, it does that movie, bomb ticking down thing where 1 minute lasts, a solid 10.
Right, that glass is ready to crack. Quite a bit before it does.
Right. But yeah, he has a good moment with that where he decides to stick it out. And because I don't know, this is kind of how I interpreted it, where he was. This is him coming to terms with they are the future. Wakanda will be the future, and
right. It's very much his plot arc. And can I say, like, Martin Freeman is perfect for that take on a CIA agent. He's very well cast.
Yeah, because like you know, once again, this might be headcanon, but that's exactly how I read that scene, where it was like he now is fully realizes that the U.S. Will not be the major superpower in the world, and it's on like him right now, and then this the small team to basically decide whether when Wakanda does become the major superpower in the world, will it be someone honorable with good intentions like T'Challa, or will it be someone with evil intent like Killmonger leading the way?
This kind of gets to the core of what I actually really like about Black Panther. In Iron Man, the fact that Tony Stark begins to raise ethical questions about what it means to be an arms dealer kicks off a series of events in that movie, but that movie's not about the ethics of arms dealing. You know what I mean? It's in there, but it's not a huge focal point. Thor Ragnarok touches on colonialism a lot, right? But it's not a movie overtly, explicitly about colonialism. It doesn't really deal with it in a lot of ways. Black Panther takes a lot of stuff that I was expecting to be... Like, I knew we'd get into the fact that Wakanda is isolationist. I knew we'd get into technology sharing. I knew we'd get into race and things like that. I wasn't expecting it to be overtly what the movie was about.
Right.
And it is. And it's great. It really is about so much. Right. Oh, it's just nice to have films... Just nice to have films that are actually about things.
Right, and like this kind of goes into what I've been saying a lot about the certain like movies and films that I've been enjoying lately, or television, like how much I like Westworld, because it doesn't shy away from what it wants to say, but it can still manage to be entertaining while it does it.
Right.
Oh my god, I can't believe I missed that. The same thing with Black Panther. It clearly had things it wanted to say. It had things it wanted to touch on. And it was like, we're going to do it, but we can also make an entertaining film as we go.
Yeah.
We can have the silly things. A social conscience is not necessarily separate from fun action. They don't have to live in separate worlds. So we get the confrontation. The general, who was it? Okoye? Is that what her name is?
I think.
Okoye?
Okoye. It's either Okoye or Okoye. I don't know exactly how it's pronounced. I pulled up the names so I wouldn't forget them.
Yeah. Oh, fuck. She recognizes T'Challa's back, so she, she has a sort of a loophole in what she claims, like, she serves the throne. Well, now the throne's up for grabs because T'Challa's back. He never yielded, so technically that ceremonial fight never ended, right? So, for all intents and purposes, T'Challa's still the king.
Right.
And so her and the royal guard, they flip sides and they start supporting T'Challa. Daniel, what's his name? Daniel
Kaluuya, and what's the character he played called?
I can't remember his name. But it's your shot. He still supports Killmongers, and his tribe supports Killmonger. So, that's what the big fight comes down into, and you bring in some robot rhinos to mix things up.
Were they robots? I thought they were just bred to be
armored.
big.
Yeah, they're just armored, I guess. But so this big competition comes on, and then Black Panther basically gets a shot at Killmonger one-on-one again. And they had their fighty fight. And in, I think, a really nice scene, CGI excluded, it's actually a pretty well done action sequence where it does something that I think the best action sequences do, where they add a caveat to it, a sort of like restriction to keep it a little more self-contained.
Right.
And this one, it's they're on these train tracks, and these train tracks run using a sonic emitter that essentially negates the abilities of vibranium, which is what their suits are made out of. So as they're having these fights, every time a train goes by, they lose their suits' abilities, and they get separated. So you get these great sequence where they're fighting. Train comes by, they both end up on a different side of it, and they have to kind of talk it out for a little bit. So you get that, and then it culminates with Black Panther essentially stabbing Killmonger in the stomach, and as a kind of a touching moment, he takes him outside and shows him the beautiful Wakandan sunsets that his father, Killmonger's father, had told him about. Said that these the Wakandan sunsets are the most beautiful in the world, and I hope someday you get to see one. And so T'Challa actually shows him one, and it's a really touching moment. And Killmonger chooses death over, because they said, we can heal you. This is not a wound that is beyond our capabilities.
Yeah, I mean, I could have taken you to the hospital first and then shown you the sunset, but because he dies pretty quick after he says that. So,
well, he chooses it because he removes the spear, which
no, that's true.
If action movies told us anything, as soon as you remove anything from a wound, you immediately die. So Killmonger passes, and he actually has a really poignant thing he said at the very end. He's like, just bury me in the oceans where my ancestors died when they knew that death was better than living in chains. And of course he's referring to that other side of Black or African culture, which is enslavement.
Right, and he's only half Wakandan as well, so they are his ancestors.
Right. Yes. But he doesn't refer to the Wakandans as his ancestors. He refers to the ones that were brought to America in the slave trade as his ancestors. Because to him, they are. Like, Wakanda really doesn't mean anything to him because he never grew up with that culture. He grew up with what has happened, not what has happened, but the state of Black culture in the United States, which is a legacy, from slave culture, or not slave culture, but the slave trade. Excuse me. So he still sees up until the moment of his death, he still sees a divide. That he comes from a people that Wakanda has abandoned, and he doesn't let that go even at the very end. Everything gets resolved. T'Challa takes the throne again. And then his final act, or the final moments of the film have him essentially beginning the process of revealing Wakanda to the world, and it starts out with
public.
Yeah, and it basically starts with him buying up all the buildings in the neighborhood that Killmonger's from, and starting the first outreach program, the Wakandan outreach program, and he puts his sister in charge, and then credits roll. But we also get so as everyone knows, the Marvel movies always have the mid-credit scene and the end-of-credit scene, right? And for the most part, lately, they've really played these as kind of either goofy little things or kind of throwaway bits. Both the scenes that they show in the credits are very important.
Yeah, they really are. I do like that the first one is a riff on the Iron Man.
Yes.
Moment from Iron Man.
Yeah, and it's actually basically what I took as, and there's a lot of people who have taken this away, so I don't think I'm necessarily wrong, but it is kind of a big fuck you to Donald Trump, because it's T'Challa addressing the UN and makes it very clear, like, yes, we are going to come out to the world. We're going to open our doors. We're going to, because we believe that we should be building bridges, not walls. And very, I think very purposely, it's the delegate of the United States who goes, well, with all due respect, what does a bunch of farmers and stuff have to show the world? Like, look, even in our day and age with politics, there's not a fucking U.S. UN delegate who would say something like that.
No,
right?
just the president.
Yeah, just the president. But then there's, great scene where you see Ross. He's smirking because he knows what's up. And then, like very much is a riff on, well, I am Iron Man, and just cuts away. And then you get the end of credit scene, which shows Bucky, who, honestly, I kind of forgot through like halfway through this film, is supposed to be in Wakanda at this time. He's supposed to be there.
Yeah, I was wondering if we'd see Bucky and Captain America, because they were both there at the end of Civil War, weren't they?
Well, okay, we had this discussion before. Captain America isn't. He goes to Wakanda to drop off Bucky, but the last scene you see with Captain America is him on the raft, presumably to free the Avengers who were captured.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
There's nothing to say that Captain America is
stayed
there at the time. Yeah,
he's been there, but that's it.
Yeah, he has been there. Yeah, but Bucky's there, and you see him at the end, and he's just been in this, this little village, dressed up in a robe.
Let's not start another game because we're gonna.
Yeah, we're gonna. But yeah, that was Black Panther. It was a great film. It was really good film.
It was all right. Mm-hmm. No, it was really good. It was really good.
No, it was really good.
Should we finish up?
I'm gonna ask you first. All right, where does Black Panther now fall on you in your list?
I don't know.
Where?
It's too many to rank these days, isn't there?
Yeah. Well, yeah. There's 18 I've discovered. 18 films. I have it now at number 5 for me. It's number 5.
So what's above it?
Behind Civil War, Guardians 1, Iron Man 1, Ragnarok.
See, I don't know how I feel about Ragnarok. I think I need to see Ragnarok again. I feel like Ragnarok had a lot to process. I don't think Ragnarok was a bad film. I just feel like I still don't really know where to put it. Do you know what I mean?
Here's what I'll say. I think Black Panther is actually a better made film, and I think it actually has much more important things to say. But in terms of just pure film enjoyment, I put Ragnarok above Black Panther because.
Do you know what my issue with Ragnarok
for me
is?
was just kind of it's a roller coaster. It's not the tour,
Right. So my issue with Ragnarok is, and I totally get why they did this, because I think they're some of the least popular movies. But I liked Thor 1 and Thor 2. Ragnarok feels like it was made for people who didn't like Thor 1 and Thor 2. Does that make sense?
Which was me, because I didn't like Thor 1.
Right. So it kind of bugged me. My issue with Ragnarok is that a lot of the characters aren't the same as they are in the Thor 1 and Thor 2 films, and it doesn't
That's fair.
try to really pick up on that plot in any meaningful way. So,
right.
While Ragnarok is a good, fun film, if you liked Thor 1 and Thor 2, it is kind of this weird, sudden transition to a different sort of movie, which I must admit does kind of rub me the wrong way. but I do like the film a lot. So it's
Yeah.
it's tough. I don't know where I would put that.
Yeah, it definitely could have gone back and forth behind that number 4 spot for me. The other ones that I have above it are, I just think, just better.
So what's on the bottom of your
always.
list now? What's the
Hulk.
very last movie?
Hulk.
Excluding, of course, the ones that you haven't seen. Incredible
Yeah,
Hulk?
Yeah.
I thought you didn't mind that one.
No, I did not like that film.
No, I think it's terrible. It's
I'll run through it real quick. All right, it won't take me long. All right?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, I got Civil War, Guardians 1, Iron Man 1, Ragnarok, Black Panther, Winter Soldier, Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, Captain America 1, Iron Man 3, The First Avengers, Guardians 2, Avengers 2, Iron Man 2, Thor, and Hulk.
You put the first Avenger, Captain America, after Captain America: The First Avenger. You put that after Homecoming? I'm surprised.
Yeah.
I thought you liked.
Those were more that could have gone either way for me.
Right.
The kind of the middle of my list, I would say, from Winter Soldier on down, it's very interchangeable for me, depending on my mood for the day. But yeah, that's how I would.
I do like that Phase 3. I know they've dropped the phase thing, but post Age of Ultron, what they've really seemed to try to do is certain characters get the Iron Man treatment of Marvel movie, but then certain characters come in and they get a very different film. So Guardians of the Galaxy is both of them, but 2 especially, are kind of very space opera-y, you know?
Yep.
Spider-Man Homecoming's a teen coming-of-age drama, but also a Marvel movie. Thor Ragnarok is a music video. It is. It's that's not a criticism, but it is. That's the genre it belongs in.
Right.
Black Panther is a social drama, kind of a Bond movie, at times.
Yes.
Winter Soldier is the Manchurian Candidate.
Yeah.
I've really enjoyed that, the way they've been hitting different genres a lot. And those tend to be the ones I'm liking the most at the moment. I really like Homecoming. Here. I like Homecoming a lot because it is that teen drama. I think that's so right for Spider-Man. Because an approach like the Iron Man / Doctor Strange approach would not have worked for Spider-Man. That would have trashed that film.
What I'm not appreciating so much, and this, just could be very well just poor representation in the trailers, but from like the promotional shots you see of Infinity War, it's like, oh, Spider-Man is now kind of a fucking major player in this world, because we keep seeing images of him like standing toe to toe or shoulder to shoulder with Iron Man and these other characters. It's like, really? Like, yes,
I'm really hoping that it's reflective of when the actual film comes out. I'm hoping it's reflective of the fact that he spent most of Homecoming basically being told to stand down by Tony Stark.
Right. Like I'd rather have the Defenders, next to me than Spider-Man.
What it should absolutely come down to is, Thanos has landed in New York. Spider-Man's literally the only person who's there, and Tony can get him a suit, and he does so reluctantly.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Right.
That should be the situation. Because he has like it's almost a version of the comic Civil War suit, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a robot suit. It's a Stark suit.
It's a suit that's at the end of Homecoming.
Is it? Oh, the one he's going to give him.
Yeah, it's the exact same suit.
Oh, I'd forgotten about that. I've only seen Homecoming once. I want to watch it again.
So, yeah, alright. So that was our discussion on Black Panther. Real quick, because we do need to wrap up here. It's getting late. Real quick, if you are in the chat and you want to drop us some questions, now is the time to do it.
Do it.
Some comments that we might have missed along the way. So Captain Marvel next month. We got that. I wonder if they've reduced... good pun. I wonder if they've reduced Ant-Man's part in Infinity War Part 1. Or because Ant-Man is small, he survives as small. Could be. Could very well be. It still astounds me that they're going to put out Infinity War before the Ant-Man movie. It just doesn't make any, like, thematic sense. And that's the thing. They've been really... Like, okay, I get it that the first Ant-Man film was kind of outside, but that was a gamble. They were making a gamble with Ant-Man anyways.
It's going to be interesting to see... It's going to be interesting to see if it's basically in continuity to the ending of Infinity War. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Is it going to be... Like... Is it going to be... Well, all these superheroes... Is Ant-Man and the Wasp going to kick off and they're like, wow, remember when we had to fight Thanos last week and the world's sure a mess? Or is it all going to be... like 6 months ago, before Thanos attacked?
Right, and that's the weird thing for me, is like how, what does that speak to the scale of Infinity War if there's like some like relatively untouched,
to be fair
like,
though,
places?
To be fair though, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, what they've really been trying to communicate is the actual experience of comic book characters in a comic book style shared universe in movies, right? And what could be more comic book than some delayed issue coming out 6 months after a major event when it was supposed to wrap up something before something else happened?
It's like, wait, this character is dead. Alright, we do have some comments in the chat. Oh god, yes, Sinister Mystery. I did see this. That of course there would be fake reports of people being attacked, trying to go see Black Panther because they're white. There's been a couple where people basically said, oh, this person got, just beat to shit because someone said this wasn't their movie and got beat down.
I wasn't even surprised, really. I was expecting that I was expecting that before I even saw it. Because it happens with everything now.
But they turned out to be fake. In fact, like, really quickly determined fake because the people who made them didn't even, like, try. Like, and I know this sounds bad.
Was there ever a moment in time where you would have thought that was real, really?
No. But yeah, like, the one person used the image of that woman who, from, I think she was Danish, who got a bottle busted over her head during something. They used that same image. There was another one where a guy like was supposedly holding a paper towel covered in blood, like, oh, this guy beat me up because he said it wasn't my film. And like a person real quick reverse image searched it and just like blood on paper towel, and that was the first thing that popped up. And
but it doesn't matter because more people will see the fake one before it gets debunked, you know?
Yeah, it's just a shame. It's just a horrible shame. And there's part of me who wants to just straight up attribute to racism, which it is. I mean, there is definitely some racism going on here, but I almost get the feeling that this is more in tune with like geek culture being so protective of its like white male status. Maybe. Where
I also think there's an overlap with like internet 4chan culture where they know it's not real and they personally don't see themselves as having an issue with black people. What they're doing is partly racist, but what they think they're doing is some sort of undermining authority. Like, you know, like everyone on 4chan sees themselves as the cast of Fight Club. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
It's that.
They're all members of Anonymous, and
Right. It's that that the satisfaction in doing it comes from the fact that other people will believe it and it will sow disharmony among other people while you get to be the clever person who knew that you did it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And the ultimate attack is not to attack a specific race of people, but to attack people who give a shit. So even by debunking it, you also feed into it. The South Park generation, you know?
Yeah. It's
I mean, it totally is racist as well.
Yeah, it is very racist, but it also, definitely speaks to this idea that if you care at all anymore in this day and age, like that does make you a target to a specific sort of people, and it's a shame. It's just a fucking shame.
Right.
But let's see here. Anything else in the chat? My phone wants to be stupid with me right now.
No, not really.
Okay. Alright, well then we're gonna wrap up here. Okay, Lou's Corner asks, one question, Owen, is Black Panther good or is it utter smeg? Red Dwarf reference.
No, we talked about that. We said what we thought of the movie.
No. Yeah.
At length.
So yeah, we're gonna wrap up here.
It's good.
Thank you all for... Yes, it's good. Thank you all for watching. Appreciate the support. Please like... if you haven't subscribed, which I believe most of you have, but if you haven't, do so. Share it with your friends. We are steadily growing. We are gaining new subscribers, at least one a week.
We go through phases. Depends on what game we're playing.
Yeah. So thank you all who have stuck with us so far. Check out the channel. There's new content coming all the time. I've been running a small series called One Person's Take. Which the third episode will be out on Thursday, so keep a lookout for that, and hopefully we'll have more stuff coming soon. But until next time, I've been one of your hosts, Jonathan Cadotte. With me as always has been Owen Adams. Owen, where can they find you?
Go to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Owen Adams.
Awesome. And you can follow me on Twitter, which is @JohnCPerson. That's JON, the letter C, person. If you haven't followed me on Twitter, do so now. I commend it. But until our next episode, or next time you see us, have a good one.
Bye-bye!